Hey, welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. We are going to check out how our leaders have arrived at a decision that we are told there has been an approval from the Parliament of Ghana for spouses of presidents and vice presidents to be paid salaries almost equal to what justices of the superior courts will take. Just a couple of your messages, then I proceed. This is positive change in Medina, Accra. Says so, Techiman South and Ayawaso incident replayed in Ejura. What lessons are we learning from all of that as a nation? Are we investigating? Indeed, Ghana is really sitting on a times something, you say. Then Yakubu Ibn Chamba says, in as much as I completely condemn the brutality meted out to the people of Ejura, that resulted in the loss of a precious Kaka life. I agree with the testimony of the military that the riotous youth instigated the process. Sometimes the men in the uniform are nudged to the wall, so much so that retaliation is often the way out. There could be better ways to console the family of Kaka. Yakubu Ibn Chambas, that's his view. Musa Abator in Kumasi says, it appears that Mr. Baako knows more than the police. No, he didn't say that. You hear what he just said. All right. So he says the doctor's testimony stands the test of time. If Ghana were to be any serious country where laws are working properly, Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei Mensah could have been in court answering serious questions by now. So those are some of the messages that you sent. Some others. This one from Didome Kafui. You say that Newsfile, and indeed that video was his last. Such a wicked system. Okay, it's referring to Kaka's video where he expressed concern about the threat and suggested that that video might be his last. I'm not sure that was his last because it took about a month before it happened. Collins Little Tete says, the world says you have needs, satisfy them. You have as much right as the rich and the mighty. Satisfy your needs. Indeed, demand more. Unquote. This is the worldly doctrine of today. The result for the rich is isolation and suicide for the poor, envy and murder. Hashtag Newsfile. Prince Henry Koforidia says, I support hashtag Kaka family decision because it seems the committee is not being fair to the citizens based on some of the questions they put before the witnesses that have appeared so far. Moreover, we have seen similar committee report with no action from government. Hashtag Newsfile at Joy 99.7 FM. Jama Woyale says that the NDC youth were given a free pass to demonstrate without any difficulty. What at all is the NPP government afraid about the Fix the Country demo? They should tell the youth that a united front devoid of partisanship can change this country for good. Hashtag Newsfile. And finally, Kofi Amwa says that so far everything points to the fact that you are an alien and precisely a terrorist if you side with anything hashtag Fix the Country, admitting the country needs no fixing. Can I then question the foresight of your leadership? The gods of Saturday have tuned to Newsfile. All right, thanks for those messages. So now, as you may be aware by now, we have the people known as Article 71 beneficiaries. And I intimated to you earlier, our MPs are getting car loans without any guarantees. That's how special they are. Our government has borrowed money to give them loans. The MPs who were retained are not exempt, so they may be getting this for the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth time taking these loans because they need their V8 vehicles changed every 4 years. That's what this country can afford. In the 4 years, they will be paid ex gratia or ex gratia, which some will be receiving also for the second, third, fourth, fifth time, etc. Fresh cash, they always need it. Some have actually had the backbone to go to court to demand ex gratia, extra ex gratia payment recently. Thank God, the Supreme Court threw them out like Domelevo had done. Upon all this, our government will take up 60% of the loan, but they will pay 40%. Whether they will pay or not, we actually don't know if they always commit to the payment. Also, members of the Council of State are getting the V8 vehicles. They're getting some of it. Those who got the last 4 years, I suppose, are also getting them like the MPs are supposed to get. These Council of State members, many have said, have doubtful duties or work schedule. They are getting some 26,266 Ghana cedis each month. Some are asking, are they doing full-time job? Because they are mostly retirees who have been called back to do some meetings and are asking, even President Trump took no peswa for all the 4 years that he was president. If this is about public service, how exactly are they doing public service? By asking for money. Then a committee was set up, as is always done, to take care of Article 71 office holders who have been named in the Constitution in Chapter 8. And Chapter 8 is an entrenched provision of the Constitution. It can only be amended through a Chapter 25 or Article 289 and 290 process, including a referendum for the public to vote 75% yes by at least 40% of eligible voters. So the question some are asking is, how come a parliament has decided to change the Constitution, amend it by itself, without recourse to the public to determine if the spouses of presidents and vice should be giving any money? What should happen? Right. So on this note, let me begin with Kofi Bento. Yes, Kofi, how does this come to you? And do you join the public chorus that this is sinful and ought not be allowed?
Understandable. And if we want to get a grip of it, we need to appreciate what the issues are. In this Fourth Republic, the conduct of our leaders and generally the elites, what we loosely call the political class, they come into office, they go, and it's not just the politicians, it's a number of people also surrounding them. Their conduct is such that they have constituted a predatory elite. And what that means is that we have come to believe, many people, that these people have no intention to serve. They come into government and they occupy offices to better themselves. I don't want to go into details about certain people, but many of them cannot afford the kind of lifestyle that they demand when they are in office. And you consistently see this happen, which is why the public have lost confidence that these are people who are here to serve. They basically do things which exclude them from our common plight as a people. So they buy 4 V8s and then they can go over the potholes. And government pays for some of them to have generator sets so they can, avoid the doom that we all have to go through. They have boreholes and polytanks so they can do, without Ghana water and sewage. Their children are in school, so the public system doesn't, bother them at all. And that is worrying. So even if there is good intention for some of these things, immediately people's minds go to the fact that we have had over 20 years of a predatory elite which does not seem to care. And that is a clear and present danger to this, our democracy. You spoke about parliamentarians, and I think that they come into the shot because they are not helping. Indeed, Parliament is supposed to be the bulwark against the executive's excesses. So this is where they should have, managed to, pass legislation or do certain things to cut back on some of these things and restore confidence in governance. But you have people in Parliament who have taken ex gratia 4 times, every 4 years get a 4x4, and all those things going on. Okay, we have a situation where I have a lot of respect for members of the Council of State on a personal level, but I have a doubt as to the usefulness of that institution because of the cost and benefit issues concerning them and vis-a-vis what they do for the state. Okay, we pay Council of State members more than we pay most doctors. We pay them more than we pay all teachers. All right, and if we are a poor country, let us all be a poor country. But if we can do this, then let us do it across board. I'm saying that the cry you are hearing from the public is coming from these sentiments. The sentiment that on one level, we pretend we're a poor country and we cannot do certain things. On another level, we live like Arabian kings and buy $150,000 cars for people who don't have a clear definition of their job every 4 years. All right. And this is not the only thing that we do for them. So we need to take a very hard look. And I'm speaking about the predatory elite, because this is what has caused every one of the upheavals that we've had in our country, where people believe that those in power don't care about the rest of us.
So what's the point? They come to the spouses of president and vice presidents. And I hear a narrative that says that this is not for the Rebecca Akufo-Addo and Samira Bawumia. And I'm asking myself, can a next regime, what is happening now, will it apply to a next regime? Because by my understanding of the Constitution, this is approved for just those who are in now. If they want to let it, other people who have gone past benefit, that's a different matter. But the focus is those who are in now. They are seeking this for themselves. And the next set of president, vice president, there will be a new committee that will determine what Article 74 office holders deserve. Is that not the understanding?
Well, it's all over the place. And that is why I agree with Professor Prempeh when he says that let's pass legislation and put a pin on this. Because what you have here is that a committee is set up and they determine these emoluments and it goes to Parliament. Invariably, it is passed. We are going to go to a point where one day we'll be paying spouses $1 million every month. I mean, I'm making it absurd because you have a system that is open to that kind of abuse. Now, let's be clear. I made the point that we have developed a predatory elite which is not trusted, and that is why the public is crying. That being said, when we look at the specific issue of paying spouses of presidents, we should focus more on the principles. It matters that the public has lost that confidence, but we should interrogate the principle of that idea, separate from the names and people involved as one. And two, find out whether there is merit to the principle, and then we figure out how do we do this legally and in a way that does not lead to a situation where one day somebody awards themselves $1 million a month.
Okay.
If you ask me, and if we have time, I'll explain that. The principle that there should be some sort of an allowance for first and second ladies in the Republic is a very sound one. I can defend it anywhere. But there is nothing I can say to defend that they should continue to enjoy it after their husbands leave office. That will make sense. And when that is said, that the principle can be defended per se, then we come to how do we do it? And I agree with Professor Prempeh when he says that this is illegal on the face of it. We don't have to be doing illegal things. So let us figure out a way to do it properly and then also make it future-proof. So somebody can come.
So you are saying the Constitution doesn't name first or second ladies, therefore it has to go through a constitutional amendment. And this is an entrenched provision. We should go for a referendum because we want to pay our first and second ladies.
No, I didn't say we should go for it. I said let us make sure it is done legally.
The only legal way will be to go for a constitutional amendment, and this is an entrenched provision.
No.
Is it not?
No. I disagree. There are so many ways, including conventions. Today, as we speak, there are all kinds of payments being made, including some allowances to first ladies, and I am not against it. So what I'm saying is that it is not everything that must necessarily go through a constitutional amendment and a law and all these things. There can be ways. Look, development is thinking intensive. We shouldn't pretend that you just wake up, an idea comes, and then you do it. It is possible to find a way. Look, you can even do it through the Chief of Staff's office. Okay. There are so many different ways. And I agree also with what Franklin Kujo said, that let us find specific roles for them, and that will give us value and justify paying them through some office or some other means. What I'm saying is that if we had the time, I can explain clearly how this can be done without a constitutional review.
Okay, I'll return to you on it. Oliver, the recommendation for the spouse of the president is for payment of a salary equivalent to a cabinet minister MP. That's different from just a minister or an MP. Their salaries is enhanced because they are doing two jobs. So payment of a salary equivalent to a cabinet minister MP as currently pertains. And you will find that that might be bringing us to the First Lady getting some 33,270 Ghana cedis, and if it comes to the Vice Second Lady, it will be somewhere around 32,832. And then beyond that, it says payments, that's when they go on retirement. When they leave office, payment of a salary equivalent to 80% of salary of a Minister of State MP if spouse served one full term as president, or 100% of salary of a Minister of State MP if spouse served two or more full terms as president. So by the end of this tenure, President Akufo-Addo is finishing his full tenure. It means that Madam Rebecca will be getting 100% of the salary that will be given to her that has been approved by Parliament. For the rest of her life. What do you say?
I think, first of all, there are two questions. There are questions of legality and questions of propriety that I don't want us to conflate. But I think when we also start from the report of the committee, they have made 36 recommendations.
Right.
By my last count, about 20 of them are actually unconstitutional. And I know that the spousal one is the one that we are all talking about. But almost all the recommendations they are making, they did not have the capacity and legal this thing to do. And we can go through them one by one. And if you're minded, I can do that. But let me comment on the spousal one first. You know, I appreciate that there's an underlying feminist sentiment, and what I share, that there are conversations about equal pay for equal work that has engulfed the ways in which women are treated unfairly, and that we are failing to consider the fact that first ladies actually do work, you know. But I think that even if we are considering a conversation about paying first ladies, it cannot be disconnected from the broader questions about inequities in how gendered our pay structures sometimes are across board. So that if you connect it with a bigger project, an audit of that question, in certain jurisdictions, you have a clear understanding that women earn about 70% of what men earn. And we haven't done that analysis for Ghana to even to establish gender inequalities. So we could be taking lead on a global issue where we're saying that, listen, we want to start that conversation about gender equity, even in the pay structure. But this is totally disconnected from that. Then you come to the legal questions. Clearly, there's no basis under Article 71 for this committee to be considering the issue, even if we deem it important. So their straying into that conversation is problematic legally. I've heard the thing being said by the presidency that Parliament approved it. And I think this is disingenuous because under that committee, there are two types of payments, salaries it can determine. One for the president and one for the Parliament. Parliament approves the one for the presidency, and the president approves for the one for Parliament. Now, to the extent that the spouses are not part of the presidency, Parliament cannot be approving it. So how would you say that they approve that? That's the first question for me, because they don't have any legal capacity to approve anything that doesn't relate to the specific persons listed on Article 71. Secondly, in respect of Article 71 office holders, it says salaries, allowances, payable, facilities, and privileges of office holders that have been listed. If you go to some of the recommendations, it is talking about resource national, the NCC to do its work. It doesn't fall within the mandate of the commission to be talking about the institution of the NCC. Not that I'm not saying that is laudable, but I think doing a committee which is constituted for a specific purpose, which is determining salaries, allowances, privileges, retirement benefits, you're not talking about the institutional money given to an institution. So that goes beyond your competence. That's the second thing. The third point I want to make about the spousal thing is that, you know, if you study our pay structure of payments we make in the public sector, there are three bases, I understand, for which payments are made to individuals. One, it is made to elected officials. Two, persons who have been appointed. Three, persons who are recruited. Now, are the spouses of these individuals elected, appointed, or recruited? I don't think they fall under any of the categories, because we do not make salary payments to personhood, that just because you are a person, you receive salary. That's not what we make. And when you take the vice president, for instance, the reason why we make payment to him is because our constitution says that he is elected together with the president. So when the vice president is appointed, it's an election of the person. So I think that is the context in which we need to understand the basis for which payments are made. Now, I understand that the office of the First Lady, sometimes the expenses are carried by the office of the president. Now, we have allowed that, as we say, it's a matter of convention and all the things we say.
Yes.
But we need to go back to the Presidential Office Act and determine whether spouses of the president are under that office. So that if we are making payments and carrying the expenses,
are they under that office?
Not to my understanding, no.
Okay.
So that if they are not listed as members of the president's office, then what is the basis of carrying that under the budget of that? And these are things that Auditor General should be asking questions about. But we usually give them a pot of money, and the president, by his own way, sometimes says, "Oh, I have picked up the medical bills of this person. I have done that. We have done that." Maybe we have determined that we'll give them a pot of cash which they can do as they please with. And it doesn't matter, we don't interrogate that. But if we are minded to go by law, money is approved for the office of the president, as Parliament approves it, must cater for expenses related to persons in the office of the president.
So as far as you are concerned, this is a complete illegality?
That's as far as I'm concerned, there is no legal basis for it. And so the law itself doesn't support the practice.
Do you agree with the principle like Kofi Bento?
I not as a blanket one. I think that if you're going into those territories, we have to connect it to gendered inequalities in the pay structure. And if we don't do that, we are enriching a political class rather than catering for everyday Ghanaians in the way in which we are going about that administration, I would say.
So that if we should pay them salaries, they should also declare their assets.
If we should pay them salaries, they have to show that they're elected, appointed, or recruited. Before we even get into you declaring salary, there has to be a basis for that, payment, which I don't think we have established.
Okay.
But I also wanted to, and you would go on, but I wanted, perhaps we circle back to the question, as to this, out of the 36 recommendations, 20 being completely unconstitutional that have been made before it. So it's a question maybe we can leave for people to discuss later.
Right.
But I wanted to make that.
Thank you very much, Oliver.